conference at the Milimani Law Court. 7 petitions challenging Kenya Kwanza leader Dr. William Ruto have been filed at the Supreme Court. The petitions clearly set the stage for a major legal battle at the Apex Court. All petitions are seeking to invalidate Ruto's win, and a repeat calls for a repeat of a fresh presidential election in accordance with the Constitution and Elections Act, among other orders from the court. Raila Odinga and Martha Karua are the first petitioners, and Njoroge Kamau the second, while on the respondents' side, William Ruto will be the first with his running mate Rigathi Gachagua the second. IEBC is the third, while Wafula Chebukati, who is the IEBC chair, is the fourth respondent. Also today, election results from 8 electoral areas which were conducted yesterday are expected to be officially announced by IEBC. In those areas so far, Fernandez Barasa of ODM has officially been declared the governor-elect of Kakamega County. He is now replacing his party member Wycliffe Oparanya, who has already exhausted his 2 terms. Our reporters are on the ground for timely updates. Welcome to this broadcast once again. I'm Purity Museo. We begin from the Supreme Court, where the bench of 7 judges of the Supreme Court has begun sitting for the presidential petition pre-trial. The judges will call upon the litigants of the 7 petitioners to establish issues that they will agree upon, those that are disputed. Our political reporter Muremi Mwangi is following up on the presidential petition and now joins us live from the Milimani Law Courts. Good afternoon to you, Muremi Mwangi. Just a recap of what has been said, especially on the ground rules set ahead of tomorrow's official hearing.
Good afternoon once more, Purity. Of course, the most critical assignment for the bench on the pre-trial conference was to identify the main petitions that they will be dealing with here. Initially, 9 had been filed in relation to the August 9th presidential election. 2 of them have been struck out, one by Reuben Kigame and another one by former Gatundu South legislator Moses Kuria, bringing the number to 7. And thereafter, the decision was made to consolidate the 7 petitions into one, with the primary file being that of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua as the primary petitioners here in the 2022 presidential petitions. And of course, the same being done for the side of the respondents, with the President-elect William Ruto as the primary respondent, his deputy-elect Rigathi Gachagua as the second primary respondent, and of course the IEBC and Wafula Chebukati. The court adjourned a few minutes ago because there is a critical ruling that they're supposed to give at 4 p.m. and that's to do with critical issues that have emerged from this pre-trial conference. One of the key issues, of course, is in terms of time allocation to the parties. Remember, preference has been given to the primary petitioners and the primary respondents in terms of time allocation at the hearing stage, each of them getting 3 hours that they have to split amongst themselves, so that for Raila and Karua, the split, of course, is for the 3 hours. The same applies for Ruto and Rigathi, who have to share 3 hours. And of course, the same also applies to IEBC and Chebukati, each to share the 3 hours. And there was an application by the respondent's side, particularly from the legal team of the president-elect, saying that they are dealing with 7 petitions to which they have to respond, and therefore, realistically, they ought to be given more time to be able to address the different issues emerging from the 7 consolidated petitions. But another critical ruling that is expected, of course, at 4 p.m. is to do with separate documents that are suspected to have been filed late in time. Concerns have been raised that on the e-filing system, the electronic filing system of the judiciary, there were challenges for several parties that attempted to upload documents there, and they therefore had to file them late with some of the service of those documents, the physical ones happening a bit late, the court has to give direction about that. But a very interesting perspective coming from this presidential poll petition, the aspect of the split commission and the fact that the court has allowed 4 dissenting commissioners to file their responses to be recognized as respondents in this suit, and therein came the question of who ought to file evidence on behalf of the IEBC, given that the 4 presume themselves to be the majority of the commission of 7, and therefore ought to be the institution of the IEBC responding to the petitions that have been raised here. And of course, the same having happened with the 3 other commissioners, including Chebukati, who have already filed, the responses in terms of the IEBC, and therefore, due to these confusion that has come about, the legal team, of course, saying that there ought to be some sort of clarity from the court so that a decision is made on whether or not to admit pleadings that have been filed by the team of the 4 dissenting commissioners by lawyer Mansour. And that's a critical aspect of the ruling, given that the IEBC is a critical respondent across the 7 cases that have been listed. Another critical exercise expected to begin from 2 p.m. simultaneous with the hearing process of these petitions is to do with the scrutiny of electronic systems as well as documents that have already been filed, and that is in line with some of the issues that have been set out for determination. And finally, of course, one of the key aspects for the lawyers that are representing the different parties in this suit was to do with the identification of the specific issues for determination, given that the different petitioners had given separate issues, and therefore there has been made a decision that the issues for determination will be 9, and one of them is on whether the electronic result transmission system met the threshold of a system that can guarantee verifiable, credible and accurate result. And of course, the whole issue of suspected interference in the forms 34A uploaded on the portal and those that were sent at Bomas. And of course, through that scrutiny process, the court is supposed to make a determination on if there was any interference in the uploading process or the transmission of the same physical forms to the Bomas of Kenya. And of course, if I could just go through some of the other key issues, is at the tail end of this process, the court is supposed to determine if illegalities or irregularities that have been identified in this petition are strong enough to, of course, persuade the court to nullify the election. And most importantly, the court is expected to limit itself to the orders or the reliefs that it can give to the parties or the petitioners that have sought the different prayers before the court. And therefore, when the court responds at 4 p.m., the ruling harmonizing all these separate issues that have emerged from the arguments of the legal team here will form some sort of direction to the full hearing that commences tomorrow. Purity.
Thank you so much. Muremi Mwangi is coming to us live from the Milimani Law Courts, and the hearing of the presidential petition that is challenging the victory of Deputy President Dr. William Ruto has officially begun today. It was just a matter of setting off ground rules, and also parties have been allocated different times to be used. But the hearing will officially begin tomorrow. Let's just have a look first at some of the issues that the Supreme Court, led by Martha Koome, will be addressing or making verdict on as presented by the petitioners. And the first issue that the petitioners, that is led by Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga, they are questioning whether the technology deployed by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission met the standards of integrity, verifiability, security and transparency to guarantee accurate results. The second issue, remember there are 9 of them. The second is whether there was interference with the uploading and transmission of Forms 34A. And thirdly, they are also questioning whether there was a difference between Forms 34A uploaded on the IEBC portal, those issued to the agents, and the ones that were sent to the National Tallying Center at the Bomas of Kenya. The fourth issue is whether the postponement of the elections in 8 electoral areas resulted in any voter suppression. And the fifth issue that they are also raising, the petitioners, is that whether there were unexplained discrepancies between voters' figures for the president and other elective seats. The sixth issue here is if IEBC carried out tallying and verification of the results in accordance with the Constitution, while the seventh is if William Ruto indeed attained the 50% plus 1 as per Article 138, Section 4 of the Constitution. And the last issue, the second last, is whether there were irregularities and illegalities of the magnitude as to affect the presidential results. While again, the petitioners are also expecting some reliefs and other orders that the court will be able to issue. That is by the 5th of September, when the verdict is expected. Now, let's get to the presidential petition hearing schedule. Remember, it began today, but today the pre-trial conference started. But tomorrow, Wednesday, the 31st of August, we will also have another session of pre-trial conference, while on Thursday, which is the 1st of September, then rejoinders there will be going on still at the court. And Friday 2nd, which is September 2022, that will be happening, the rejoinders on the petition, while lastly on the 5th of September 2022, which is Monday next week, the presidential verdict, the presidential petition verdict, will be made by the Supreme Court, the judges led by Chief Justice Martha Koome. Now, on the time allocation, Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, who are the main petitioners here, will be sharing 3 hours to make their case, represented by their lawyers, while other petitioners, remember there are 7 petitioners in total, will have 30 minutes each. On the respondents' side, on the time allocation, the main respondents here, we have IEBC and Wafula Chebukati. The lawyers representing IEBC and Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chair, will have 3 hours to share and also try to defend themselves, while William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua will have 3 hours again sharing to defend the victory of William Ruto. Attorney General will also have 30 minutes. So that is how the time allocation is like when the hearing